Among the field of objects to be noted, there are the objects that are arising at the present moment. Noting the object that arises at the present moment, one discerns the nama-rupa, cause and effect, and when the person continues the practice, when the practice gains momentum, one discerns the arising and passing away of the nama-rupa that are arising as cause and effect. Discerning the nama-rupa, one discerns anicca. Discerning the arising and passing away, one discerns anicca lakkhana, the characteristics of impermanence. Noting the object, one discerns the arising and passing away. It is not imaginary. It is not what is learned from the books. It is not what the person learns from the teachers. But by being mindful of the object, at the moment the object arises, one discerns the arising and passing away of the object. One discerns the arising and passing away of the rising of the abdomen. One discerns the arising and passing away of the falling of the abdomen. And what the person comes to know is not from thinking or imagining. It is not theoretical knowledge. The things that one reflects from theory is not the direct knowledge. By being mindful of the object, the moment of the object arises, and discerning the arising and passing away through the noting of the object, one discerns the dissolution of the object, and one understands the impermanence. Anicca-nupassana is the knowledge that discerns the dissolution of the object, that one comes to discern it as impermanent. By discerning the dissolution of the object, one attains anicca-nupassana jnana, knowledge into impermanence. One cultivates anicca-nupassana jnana clearly. In order to discern the anicca, impermanent, anicca lakkhana, the characteristic of impermanence, in order to cultivate anicca-nupassana jnana, one needs to be mindful of the presently arising object. One needs to note the object effectively, efficiently. And if one is thinking, imagining, one will not get that kind of knowledge. In the first stages of knowledge, discerning the nama-rupa, at the stage of nama-rupa pariccheda jnana, and the paccaya-parikkaha jnana, discerning the cause and effect, at these two stages of knowledge, one has not discerned the dissolution of the object yet. Not having discerned the dissolution of the object, one has not discerned the anicca lakkhana, the characteristic of impermanence. Seeing the arising of the object, but not the dissolution of the object, one has not discerned the anicca lakkhana. Anicca lakkhana has not become obvious to the person yet. Not discerning the dissolution, not discerning the anicca lakkhana, the characteristic of impermanence, one has not cultivated Vipassana yet. By practicing further, when sati and samadhi, mindfulness and concentration become strong, one sees the dissolution of the object. So, in order to discern, one has to be mindful at the moment the object arises. And by being mindful of the object, one sees the dissolution of the object. Seeing the dissolution of the object, one cultivates anicca-nupassana jnana, knowledge into impermanence. By cultivating anicca-nupassana jnana, by cultivating knowledge into impermanence, one also cultivates dukkha-nupassana, knowledge into suffering, and anatta-nupassana, knowledge into non-self. The nama-rupa arise and pass away, and thus they are impermanent. Because the nama-rupa constantly arise and pass away, they are suffering. And the nama-rupa are arising in its own accord, and there is no self. These nama-rupa has the three characteristics: impermanent, suffering, and non-self. By discerning one of the three characteristics, one is said to know the other two as well. So in this way, by discerning one of the three characteristics, it is said that the person discerns all three characteristics. By discerning anicca, impermanence, one also discerns dukkha, suffering, and one also discerns anatta, non-self. In this way, by discerning anicca, impermanence, one automatically discerns the other two. By seeing the dissolution, by being mindful, one comes to understand the characteristic of impermanent, suffering, and non-self. In the word Vipassana, Vi means in various ways of the manners of impermanent, suffering, and non-self. So, Vi means in various ways, in various manners of impermanent, suffering, and non-self. And Passana means to know, discern, to see. So, one discerns the characteristics of impermanent, suffering, and non-self through one's own practice by being mindful. And such kind of knowledge one attains is very outstanding, as the person discerns through direct experiential knowledge. By discerning the arising and passing away of the nama-rupa, one gains direct experiential knowledge. Attaining direct experiential knowledge of the arising and passing away clearly, then one comes to deduce that there were arising and passing away in the past. In the past as well, things are impermanent. And also in the future, they will be impermanent. So in this way, by discerning, by attaining direct knowledge based on the object that the person is able to note at the present moment, one also comes to know that in the past, it is the same arising and passing away. In the future as well, it will be the same. arising and passing away. Just as one's nama rupa arise and pass away, in other persons also it will be arising and passing away. At this stage of knowledge, if the person is quite learned, then the person spends much time thinking, reflecting. If the person is thinking, reflecting, the person will fail to note the presently arising object, and his or her paccaka jnana, his or her direct knowledge, will become weak if the person keep on thinking, reflecting long. So one should not be thinking, reflecting. What is more important is to be mindful of the presently arising object. And if there is liking, note it as liking. If there is satisfaction, note it as satisfaction. And one should be mindful of the object that is arising at the present moment. At that stage, the person can note the discomfort, pain and ache with much patience. When there are discomfort, such as pains and aches, and if the person noted with patience, not changing posture, noting the discomfort diligently, the person sees the dissolution of this discomfort one by one. Seeing the dissolution of the pain and ache one by one, the person gains passaddhi, tranquility. One feels tranquil both in the mind and the body when one overcomes pains and ache. Before that stage, the person cannot note pain with patience, but as the person overcomes the pain, seeing the dissolution of the pain one by one, the person cultivates more courage in the practice. The person can face the pain. The person can even challenge the pain. And the person builds up more courage in the practice. As the person has overcome the pain, there will be tranquility, peacefulness, both in the mind and the body. And there will be samadhi, concentration, being calm, collected, and samadhi becomes stronger and stronger. If a person is very learned, the person tends to be thinking, reflecting. Without reflecting, when the person practices further without reflecting, noting, rising, falling, sitting, touching, the notings become continuous, the notings become effective, and one discerns the arising and passing away in a fast manner. One discerns the fast arising and passing away of the object. And his or her noting become better and better. The person cultivates more courage, and seeing the fast arising and passing away, seeing that all object pass away, new object arises, and one sees the complete flux of these objects. Seeing that the object arises at one moment, passes away at another. By noting the presently arising object, the noting becomes active, efficient, and the practice becomes good, and the practice gains momentum, and the person feels light, comfortable, and there is joy, satisfaction in the practice. And the person has satisfaction. And at that stage, there arises illumination, piti, joy arises, joy, satisfaction arises. There is peacefulness both in the mind and the body. And sada, faith and confidence, become stronger and stronger. And by continuing the practice, one gains even better kind of experiences. So the experience becomes very special. The happiness excels many times than the sensual happiness. One gains nekama rati, nekama sukha. One gains happiness of renunciation. Paviveka rati, paviveka sukha. One gains happiness of seclusion. Upasama sukha, the happiness calming, suppressing the defilements. And the person feels much comfort in the mind and the body. And one does not get bored in the practice. The person builds up more courage in the practice. By experiencing through one's own practice, one comes to understand himself or herself, and there is more faith and confidence. So the benefit of practice will lead the yogi to the total peace. So the practice itself will attract the yogi to continue the practice further until he or she attains the total peace. So the practice itself will keep the person attracted to the practice, that the person does not give up the practice. Some of the yogis come only to practice for a certain period, but as they practice, they extend their stay, they extend their retreat, and they are willing to cut off other worldly matters in order to continue the retreat. Sonyakaram pavitasa janas chitasa jayino amanusi rati hoti samadhamma vipassato. By practicing systematically from the objects such as rising and falling of the abdomen, without missing, without failing, the person is in seclusion. Having seclusion away from the companionship of person, being, and also in seclusion away from the companionship of thoughts and imagination. Sonyakaram pavitasa means the person who approaches a secluded place where it is secluded from the companionship of person, being. Even though the person is in a secluded place, but if the person is thinking, imagining, then he or she will not gain total seclusion. So one should not be thinking, imagining. One should set aside one's thoughts. And while one is in a secluded place, practicing meditation, one should not have the companionship of the thoughts or imagination. Jayino means the person who knows the object with aim and effort, the person who knows the object with the jhanic factors, aiming, directing the noting mind onto the object, putting effort in the noting the object with aim and effort, the noting mind hits the target, the noting mind rubs or strokes against the object, the noting becomes effective, efficient, and there will be sustained mindfulness. When there is sustained mindfulness, when the mindfulness is continuous, then there will be sandha-citta. The mind is being free from the agitation of defilements. The mind is calm, being away from the agitation of raga, being away from the agitation of dosa, being away from the agitation of defilements. Noting the object with effort, laziness cannot arise, and tinamita, sloth and torpor, does not arise as there is effort in the noting. Aiming, directing the noting mind onto the object, the mind is fresh, alert, open, blossom, and when the mind strokes and rubs against the object, the noting is effective, efficient. There will not be uncertainty or doubt. Having vitakka, aiming, directing, the mind is being free from tinamita, sloth and torpor. And when the noting is effective, efficient, the noting mind rubbing, stroking against the object, there will not be uncertainty or doubt, and there will be no agitation with the defilements. As there is samadhi concentration, there will not be restlessness or worry. Restlessness and worry does not arise when the mind is calm, collected on the object, and there will be sandha-citta, the mind becoming calm, away from the agitation of the defilements. Samadhamma vipassato, by noting the object, systematically, noting the object effectively, efficiently, one comes to discern correctly. One discerns the nama-rupa, cause and effect, arising and passing away of the object. When the practice gains momentum, one discerns the arising and passing away, discerning the fast arising and passing away. In the beginning, the practice seems difficult, even though it is simple, but in the beginning, the practice seems difficult. But as the person becomes skillful in the practice, the person becomes efficient, proficient in the practice. The person does not fear the practice. One understands the benefit from his or her experience. The practice gains momentum. There is much satisfaction in the practice, illumination, piti, joy, passaddhi, tranquility, sukha, happiness arise. And the person discerns the fast arising and passing away. Discerning the fast arising and passing away, there is amanusirati, the delight, the pleasure that is gained through the practice excels many times than the worldly happiness. The samadhi concentration is cultivated, and thus the mind is free from priyuttana kilesa, obsessive defilements. and the person discerns the fast arising and passing away, samadhi and panya, concentration and wisdom, become strengthened, and there is piti, joy. Both the mind and the knowledge become developed. Khanika samadhi, momentary concentration, become strengthened, and there will be rati. There will be amanusirati, the delight, the pleasure that excels many times than the worldly pleasure. However, the human sensual pleasure is good, but the pleasure one gains from the practice surpasses the worldly pleasure. Even though the deva pleasure is good, but the pleasure one gets, at least at the stage of uvyapaya jnana, excels many times than the human or deva sensual pleasure. So the happiness is very outstanding and special, cultivating knowledge, and one gains unrelinquishable happiness, and it is always new and new. The practice gains momentum. To the person who practices respectfully, meticulously, one gains such happiness even within 1 week. And to the person who practices diligently, respectfully, meticulously, one gains unrelinquishable happiness that is very unique. In order to gain the education, or in order to make money, in order to make a living, in order to earn, one needs to work systematically. And as the person becomes skillful in one's work, the person will have good business, good earning, making a good living, and the person feels happy with his or her earnings. And there will be much comfort and delight. In order to discern the true nature, in order to discern the truth, one should be mindful of the arising object at the moment the object arises, and one should note the object applying jhanic factors in the practice. In the beginning, the benefit has not become obvious yet, but as the person encourages himself or herself with the encouragement of meditation teachers, the person practices diligently, and as the yogi becomes skillful in the practice, there is much comfort in the practice, and the yogi sees the benefits of the practice, and the yogi feels happy in the practice that he or she does not get bored in the practice. As the person becomes happy, the practice itself will keep the yogi going. What is good is that the thing that is good is that one removes wrong view. There is the wrong view of eternity, sassata ditti, the wrong view of eternity, ucceda ditti, the wrong view of annihilation. As the person thinks that things are permanent, as the person thinks that there is the atta, self in the nama rupa, that does not go away, that does not perish, they believe in the atta. They believe that there is the atta in the nama rupa that is permanent, and they believe that there is eternity. They believe in the wrong view of eternity. In the seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, bending, stretching, turning, there are new and new objects arising. There is no stop, no gap, but the nama rupa are arising. New and new nama rupa are arising moment by moment. So these nama rupa that arise moment by moment, they are not causeless. Discerning that new and new objects arise moment by moment, one removes Ucceda Ditthi, one removes the wrong view of annihilation. The objects, they do not stay the same. They arise and pass away. All objects giving rise to new, and there is no permanence. Nothing is permanent. New and new objects arising. When the person sees new and new object arising, one removes the wrong view of Ucceda Ditthi, the wrong view of annihilation, and seeing the dissolution of the object, one removes the wrong view of Sassata Ditthi, the wrong view of eternity. In this way, discerning correctly, discerning the arising and passing away, one removes the wrong view of eternity as well as the wrong view of annihilation. So it is most important to remove these wrong views. Practicing Satipatthana meditation is to remove these wrong views of Sassata Ditthi and Ucceda Ditthi. And one believes that there is the Atta, soul, in the person. So long as the person is living, there is the Atta in the person. And as the person dies, there will be nothing else after death, and this belief is called Ucceda Ditthi, the wrong view of annihilation. At the stage of Uddiyapaya Jnana, discerning the fast arising and passing away, one removes the wrong view of Sassata Ditthi and Ucceda Ditthi momentarily. In order to remove these wrong views to the point of no return, one should cultivate the Magga Jnana path knowledge. By attaining the first path knowledge, one totally removes the wrong view to the point of no return. There are 5 factors, Padani Yanga, the 5 factors of striving. Sada, faith and confidence. The first factor is faith and confidence. The second is having good health. The third, effort. The fourth, honesty. And the fifth is Uddiyapaya Jnana, to be endowed with the knowledge into fast arising and passing away. When the person attains the Uddiyapaya Jnana, knowledge into fast arising and passing away, it is said that the person is endowed with all the factors that are needed to attain the supermundane knowledge. So when the person gets to the Uddiyapaya Jnana, one should feel assured that by continuing the practice, one can attain the supermundane knowledge in this very life. Having attained Uddiyapaya Jnana, one has something to rely on, one has something to depend on. And it's already an hour is up, and Saraji will continue to explain tomorrow.